Alright, as mentioned, let's get to Ardolis and the pirate base. Alright, if I recall correctly, it's just a relatively straight line until we actually reach what Talwyn is looking for. Because, remember, the pirates were something that the smugglers did told us about. But anyway, again, to talk what I said at the end of the previous part about Talwyn, it pains me to say this, but like I said, my comment about her being potential woman, it's sadly more true than it needs to be, because it's clear to me that TJ Fixman wanted to do something with this character, having basically building a new set of characters for this future saga, and moving on. But I don't know what happened, if it was him changing his ideas, or the executives at Sony, or Ted Price and the other Insomniac told him otherwise. But Tolwien's presence in these games is all over the place. In this game, clearly she is there supporting you, and until the very end. Same goes for Quest for Booty. If anything, she's more important part with that. Then she completely drops out of A Cracking Time, which is supposed to be, which, remember, originally that was supposed to be the last game in the franchise. So, spoiler alert, if that was going to be the case, they were going to actually leave the plot point of her searching for her father completely, unresolved, which really speaks to me the
Yikes.
fact that Sony made a good choice about asking someone to continue.
She died on the way back to her own planet.
Kinda. I don't remember about All for One and Full Frontal Assault / Q Force.
Captain's got word that a Lombax may have landed in the vicinity. Bounties up to 20 quid and a new rotator socket.
Oh snap! Britain took over this planet apparently, since they used quid here as a currency.
Well, that's because Pirate Talk, which was a derivation from British.
Honestly, he sounds British sometimes, but then dives into Australian.
No. That was also Dwibs. That was a different character. You weren't talking about Jess Arnell's character, were you, Dwibs?
The guy who just spoke giving this weird accent.
Oh, I didn't think we'd heard him for that long. Turn to change.
Anyway, she's present again into the Nexus, and while not as pivotal, she still plays a part, and it's there to tell you that she's important. And for Rift Apart, she's completely absent until the credits that showcase that yes, she's still a thing, and hopefully, by the time the franchise hopefully continues, she will still play a part. My guess for why she was out of Rift Apart was because, okay, due to also the travel development cycle, they were afraid the audience might have grown in the potential of seeing a love triangle between her, Ratchet, and the presence of Rivet, which in itself would have been very stupid because Rivet is literally alternate universe Ratchet. So I don't want to get into that kind of crash for in It's About Time shenanigans. Okay, so that's her being done. There's something more that she was supposed to do in this game, but I will tell when we get to the end, just to tell about, dumbing out content that was confirmed later. But the billion bolt question about her father, is the story arc of her finding her father, ever resolved during this series, during the future saga? No, not really. TJ Fixman actually said, I forgot if it was in the comics that it stated or during an interview. Basically, you know what happened to Max Apogee and why did he disappeared? He realized about Tachyon actually gaining power, went to take Angela and took him with her to whatever happened to the Lombaxes. So basically discovering what happened to the Lombaxes would technically be tied to finding Max, but that's something that so far hasn't been really resolved, and hopefully all the signs seems to point out that the next game is finally gonna be the one to do it. Because again, unfortunately, and again probably because of the travel development cycle, Rift Apart is more of a stepping stone more than actually progressing the story forward. It involves MacGuffins that are established in this game and in Rift Up and in Crank in Time, so I cannot explain right now about it. So you have to wait a bit. But it's still potentially a bit, frustrating having to play for the long run, especially because due to the data theft at Insomniac, Danny himself was saying that the next Ratchet Clank games was not planned until 2029, and with them being, tied to the voice acting strike, that probably means it's gonna be delayed even more.
Well, they've recently suspended the strike at time of recording, so
we'll see what happens.
Hopefully, all being well, it'll get back on track soon.
Anyway, the pirate door with the skull, as you noticed, doesn't want to let us in, so this also is the game trying to find an excuse to find another hollow guys, much like in the first game, like the third. So that's actually pretty neat. Yes, Joe?
From what I can recall of the Future series, they more or less made Talwyn Ratchet's new love interest, if not girlfriend. The reason I have some frustration with that is that Ratchet and Clank 3 clearly suggested he was getting together with Sasha.
You want to have something come out from that, Java? You have to check out the comics, because remember, those bring back Sasha. And as a result, both her and Talwyn has to share the screen, and I wouldn't say that the comic fails the backheld test immediately, but there are at least one or two panels that are having them raising an eyebrows to each other when they discover that each of them knew Ratchet in advance.
Okay, so like, I'm familiar with the games overall, but as a kid, I never got a hold of the comics, so does it ever, like, say that Sasha and Ratchet broke up, or, they never were serious, really, or does it kind of go wink,
they
wink,
were just
nudge,
busy.
nudge, they
That's
both got
it.
a thing for him?
Anyway, here's the artifact that we need.
We found it, but
The PlayStation Triangle.
Yeah, if anything, it's actually resembling the fictional console that we're having in the second and third game. Anyway, time to properly meet Captain Slag and his second in command, Rusty Pete, was my Wally Wingert.
I hate these guys already.
You know, they got a bit of a Treasure Planet aesthetic. I like it.
That oyster chili be disagreeing with me something fierce.
no, there be a yet fouler smell. One I not be smelling for nigh 600 moons.
Oh, fresh trousers?
Lombax. Roust the lads, Rusty Pete. Tonight our foes taste the cat's tail.
So, Lombaxes are types of cats. Good to
Well,
know.
more Leonine, but yeah.
Skewer that
It was
saucy waste.
Michael's when we took him for a roll.
Skewering.
Arr, me wee cannonballs.
Ooh, wait, but you're a robot. Why would your makers program you with those?
They're the makers of Red Dead Redemption 2, where they wanted to make sure that every single creature had swollen testicles. I don't know what to tell you.
You're aware of that, yeah.
It wasn't
Why?
the marketing drove out. What do I like? It's a definition of wasting time and effort.
It's like in Cats, where someone rendered the cat's buttholes but then edited them out again.
That, God, like,
That
I
was
still
clearly
can't
coming from a place of frustration, and part of me really wants to see how it looked like.
I can't believe we're in a day and age now where movies can get patched, but yes, Cats 2019 did in fact have to get patched.
I mean,
And it still didn't look very good.
when you really get down to it, it's nothing too new because the special editions of the Star Wars original trilogy movies were already kind of like that. It wasn't just about the extended scenes, but also replacing some special effects like the Yoda puppet being instead CGI. you know?
I see.
Well, it was episode 1. My point, for example, the Emperor's hologram in episode 5 being replaced with Ian McDermott, you know.
Which, you know, even the most diehard fans agree that one was actually a good change. But I compare it more to a patch because this was while it was in theaters, you know, as opposed to, say, the special editions, which are more what I would compare to, like, say, a remaster, remake, or, you know, update, as opposed to, like, a patch, which directly updates it right there and then, basically. Like, and I'll say this. I get why they did it, but sadly, in an ironic sense, they arguably made it less fun. Like, come on, dudes, it's Cats 2019.
I remember
Own it,
Universal
and everything.
had high expectation for the movie. They even had a For Your Consideration Oscar page.
God.
And to be fair, again, as I mentioned during the commentary, I will be super fair. I think the music was actually fine. You know, both the singing and what's the name? God, there was one song that and I agree with Wiz, it wasn't particularly good on its own. It was just the actor, you know, more like speaking the song rather than singing about it.
But, the memory song?
No, the song that I forgot the name. Help me out with a Gandalf's actor that also played Magneto in the original X-Men movie.
Ian McKellen?
Thank you. The song that Ian McKellen sings. You know, the theater cat.
God, all the people they got for that.
Well, that's because, you know, they're also, people like that, him and Judi Dench were also still stage actors, so, you know, it kind of makes sense that they would do something like that.
And, as easy as it is to question why people wanted it on something, I want to be fair. Maybe from the very start of the project, it seemed like it was going to be a winner. Because, look, oftentimes how something looks in concept does not match how it's going to look in execution.
That means I couldn't kill the wildlife.
That's something Red Dead Redemption 2 does indeed let you do.
Yeah, I know. The whole, also... it called, removing the skin procedure.
Skinning animals and all that.
Compared to when we did the counter movie, my opinion on Cats has technically degraded a bit, because the one aspect that I was actually more okay with it, the self-awareness from Rebel Wilson and James Corden, now is basically, being soured to, like, I don't remember why I found that, I did appreciate it back then, but these days I try to rewatch them and I was like, nah, this is not doing it for me.
I'm guessing maybe that comes with the knowledge that the people who worked on the visuals were heavily crunched and kind of took a lot of the blame, when in reality, they were rushed. Like, now granted, I don't know if they could have salvaged those visuals, because the art style and art idea in general of Cats was just all kinds of why, but... to their credit, it's apparently the same company that did salvage the Sonic movie and gave it the better visuals, so we do know that if pointed in the right direction, they can cook. So
to be fair, considering they were, fired afterward, they did not have much of an opportunity, unfortunately.
Although I will give credit to Rebel and James in the sense that maybe they weren't aware that the visual artists were crunched, because how often do the main actors
their
get to know
performance
that?
really doesn't really matter in terms of what about the actual point of the movie. The self-awareness was mostly about the character's appearance. Oh, Buster Jones had a joke about being overweight and being sensitive about his weight, which wouldn't have been a thing in the original musical, that kind of thing.
I forget if that was a thing with Bustiver, because I'll admit I'm not a big Cats
it's something
aficionado.
specifically the movie made in order to try to take advantage of quote-unquote the comedic talent of James Corden, which I still have to actually try to understand if it's a real thing or not.
I've seen him work in movies like the Peter Rabbit movie, which, look, I'll just say this, I was definitely one of those people thinking, oh god, this is just going to be cringe and not work, but no, surprisingly, that movie of his worked. That being said, I would not blame you for thinking he can't work in comedy. I mean, okay, he was good enough on his late night talk show, from what I recall.
Citation needed, Drama, because you are the only person that I know that actually was sad when it was announced that it was ending.
I wouldn't say I was sad, more kind of just tilted my head and went, oh, like, no, I would, look, from what I've seen, he was fine on that. I wasn't shedding tears about it ending or anything, but from what I can recall, it wasn't terrible in that regard. But, okay, here's something surprising about Cats, though. The person who arguably came out of it with some of the most dignity was Jason Derulo, of all people.
I forgot, who was he playing in that?
Rum Tug
Oh, Rum
Tugger.
Tugger, okay.
He actually did good in that, dare I say. Like,
I mean, outside of the way they rendered his fur, I think Idris Elba was also fine. Like I said, outside of that Ian McKellen song, the music and the song, the singing, was actually not that bad. Probably, you know, would have made the movie, elevate the movie if the visuals were not really that obnoxious, you know.
it does make me wonder, would that movie potentially be considered good if the visuals were great? I mean, don't get me wrong, the story has issues, but to be fair, so did the original musical is not like a heavy story piece. It's more like just about here's a bunch of cats, essentially, and here's the characters, so...
Yeah, I think it could have, you know. Again, if hypothetically someone made a reanimated version of that, you know, giving it a different, more unique art style, I think it could work out.
I think, ironically, the weird thing is, they were going for a humanized look of cats, which, fair enough, the musical did. The problem was that they went a little too far into the animalistic side, I'd say. Like, whereas they tried to give them cat parts, but it kind of looked like it was more so they photoshopped human faces onto cats and then made those cats bipedal. It's like... I feel like you went a little too much into one direction.
It's like when you search those cursed photos of animals with human faces on the internet, like what people basically compare to the Predator dog in the Predator, basically.
Pretty much. I feel like they should have been more... They either should have just gone all the way with having them be cats, or do more like what the musical did. Have them basically be people dressed up as cats, you know, kind of like what the Wiz movie did with the Cowardly Lion, yeah.
Also, you may notice that I collected in the meantime a blueprint, which is part of a plan. You'll see actually what... Well, game, I was going to
game.
actually get... Okay then.
That happened.
The blueprints are you're going to see what actually they amount to eventually, because when you collect all of them, you know, you get a surprise, to say that. Alright, nothing here.
It's good to know that these pirates support tourism, at least.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's the politest I've ever heard someone say to another person to walk the plank.
Well, Dwibs, they're pirates, but they have standards, especially for their paying guests.
Pirates having standards, yeah, that's the
kind of joke that this franchise will make, yes.
Well, there does tend to be a pirate code. In fact, there was a pirate code, too. Made by Bartholomew...
The pirate code would probably be fuck the code.
There you go, these boss too can also dance at the groove, you probably can see. Again, the bosses are not affected as much as regular enemies for obvious reasons, otherwise the groove won't really be that broken. But it's just enough to give you a bit of an edge.
I like it.
I'd rather take that over making every single boss immune, that like a lot of RPGs tend to do by making, you know, the bosses being immune to almost every single debuff ever. Like, it gets to a point where you ask, you know, what is the point then? A lot of Final Fantasy suffer because of that.
telling you, all it needs is a couple of new batteries.
Oh, well, what do you know about Lombax technology? My mother was half Lombax. Yeah, well, we used to make these, gizmos out of paper mache.
I happen to be a renowned expert in Lombax history, and this doohickey is a zombie death beam emitter that'll wipe out all life in the galaxy.
Then why are you trying to put batteries in it, you darn fool?
Guys, just give me 2 seconds to think.
Having trouble?
Okay, genius, you figure it out.
Okay, seeing her tail, yeah, now I get the red thing. I just didn't see the
look at
tail
that!
before.
It's another stellar map. This is what,
Just like Treasure Planet.
It's like the third one we find in this franchise.
I'll send the coordinates to your ship. Meet us
I
there
guess
as
they're
soon as
the
you
in
can.
thing for this galaxy. Or this whole cosmos, while we're at it.
And that's also the thing that kind of frustrates me a bit more about Talwyn compared to the previous love interests that that Ratchet was given to. Okay, Angela technically had a similar attitude, but to be fair, there was the whole her fucking up until that point, especially as the thief and trying to kill him and the whole evil stuff that she did. Sasha was just more of a blank slate as the leader of the daughter of the president, basically. Talwyn tends to have a bit more of a spunk and more of an active role, so I wouldn't have minded her, even as a co-op type of character. But again, she, as far as I know, she's not even present in All for One.
The most I remember from the games overall is like she stuck around as basically a satellite and love interest for Ratchet. Featured a bit, but like you mentioned, dropped off, and then she was there for a bit. It's like, okay, it's like I said before with the original trilogy. One thing I do prefer over the original trilogy to, say, the future games was that, at least for the most part, the original trilogy kept its cast relatively consistent. Like, was Angela missing for a lot of Free? Sure, but she still showed up at the end of Free, But here, well, it's not just Talwyn, but I've already complained about how a lot of characters kind of just got forgotten. But even within the future series itself, some characters will come and go. And, I get it. Ratchet and Clank is kind of a adventure by game series, but I've never considered that a good reason to just shuck continuity in general. I get it, that some things are going to be more episodic than others, but I honestly do feel like continuity for the most part works so long as you don't get an ending that otherwise ends the series, in which case then I get why you act like it's non-canon. It's not like they would have even done that much damage acknowledging all the continuity and stuff.
Anyway, there you go. Because you have raided Ardolis, so you basically get another one of these sections where Slag tries to, put you down as revenge.
Okay, the more I'm seeing this game, the more I do get the feeling that maybe whoever, fought up the aesthetics was on a Treasure Planet kick.
Bit late for that, considering, the movie was at least 5+ years distant.
Although didn't, Rogue Galaxy come out 3 years after it, and it also tried to do the Treasure Planet thing, too?
True, but that was in development for a longer time, so I can't believe it started development not too long after the movie came out.
Okay, to be fair to Treasure Planet, in spite of how it performed financially, it was definitely something that had a fan base that only grew with time. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the makers were part of that fan base, and now that they were given an opportunity with this game, they took it. Like you said, we've had pirates, but I wouldn't say we ever had full-on space pirate levels before this game. If I recall
there was, like
correctly.
you said, that holocomic, the first holocomic of the Quark series from the third game.
Well, you know what I mean, a whole fully fleshed out Ratchet
yeah.
world as opposed to something like that. Of course, like you said, it could just be also a Pirates of the Caribbean kick.
Okay,
Definitely was big.
You'll be able to hear how the story is very blatant in a couple of parts on that matter.
And keep in mind, folks, before the MCU, Pirates of the Caribbean was Disney's biggest moneymaker franchise.
Mm-hmm. which is super hilarious considering that for most of Europe, it might as well be counting as an original IP, considering that only France has one Disneyland, attached to it.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd be forgiven for not knowing that Pirates of the Caribbean actually started off as a ride. And you know what? For as much as some people do complain about lack of originality in films, I'd say that making a movie fashioned from a ride actually can work out. And, well, it sure worked out with Pirates of the Caribbean.
Not so much with the
Shame
Country Bears, but yeah.
Or Haunted Mansion. Though, okay,
Haunted Mansion,
I've
they
grown
tried
to...
over and over again, and from what I've been told, basically the one time that it actually, more succeeding was with the Muppets, version.
Yeah. Like, I will say this, I actually kind of like the Eddie Murphy movie. I get why it may not have taken off, though.
I mean, it's probably one of the better movies that he did from that period, but that's because the alternatives were just that depressing.
I honestly do have to wonder, though, like, was the plan to truly make a franchise of Haunted Mansion? Because the movie ends with them, leaving behind the Haunted Mansion. Like, I do wonder what were they going to do for sequels? A movie based off of Phantom Manor at Disneyland Paris?
Honestly, I don't know what technically was the worst movie that Eddie Murphy did around the time between Norbit meets Dave and Pluto Nash and what was called 1,000 Words.
Ooh, okay. I think out of his bad ones, I'm gonna say 1,000 Words is the worst one. The first and most obvious reason, you took away Eddie Murphy's ability to ad-lib and quirk with his mouth. Like, not to say that he can't do physical comedy, but he's no Jim Carrey. Like, I'm sorry, no. A movie where Eddie Murphy is not allowed to snark is like a movie where Jim Carrey is not allowed to physically act, essentially. It sets itself up for failure. But in addition to that, the morals and lessons are terrible. Oh, how dare you be a father who works a lot even though you're doing it to support your family and you clearly love them and still make some time for them.
Reasons that are not quite explained, but yeah.
Like, okay, it's obvious why he's in therapy for the movie's sake, to have it be where he has to talk, or, have this wacky hijink where he can't.
Alright, tune in for the next part, where we, if I recall correctly, reconvene with Cronk, Zephyr, and Talwyn. See ya.
Alright.
Yeah.